Today, my guest isn't a guest in the usual sense. If you're on the practitioner course, you already know him. Professor Vale is the tutor who supports students as they move through the material and helps them understand what they're currently studying. Vale, let's start simple. Why do you exist in this system? Why not let people just study the lessons on their own?
Because understanding doesn't happen through reading or watching. It happens through slowing down. Most students don't struggle because the material is difficult, but because they try to move faster than their internal system can integrate. My role is to help a lesson settle, to become something lived rather than just something understood intellectually.
That's interesting because many people assume that a good student is someone who moves quickly through the course. You're saying almost the opposite.
Yes. In NEDS, speed usually means skipping. A good student is someone who knows when to pause. Someone who asks a question that shows they've actually touched something, not just understood it conceptually.
Let's make that very concrete. What makes a good question for you? What helps you be genuinely useful to a student?
Good questions come from contact with the lesson. For example, I understand this, but in practice, I feel confusion in my body. Or, I'm not sure whether what I'm noticing is an entity or just a reaction. Poor questions usually ask for instructions instead of understanding. A typical one is, what should I do in this situation? That often means the person hasn't stayed with the material long enough yet.
So you're not here to give ready-made answers.
No. If I did that, I would slow the student's development. My job is to help them see where they are in the learning process. Once they see that clearly, the next step usually reveals itself.
What are the most common mistakes you see among practitioner students?
The most common mistake is applying techniques too early. People learn something new and immediately want to use it, often without enough contact with their own body and perception. Another common mistake is seeking certainty. The need to be reassured that one is doing it right often replaces genuine presence in the process.
How would a student know that they're learning in a good way? That they're actually ready to move on rather than just moving on because they can?
When a lesson stops feeling like information and starts functioning as orientation, when a person no longer needs to remind themselves of the next step but recognizes it internally, that's usually the sign that they're ready to continue.
If you had to leave students with one thing to remember when they're working with you, what would it be?
Don't rush. If you feel the urge to skip or accelerate, that's usually a sign that something important hasn't been fully met yet.